The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Good afternoon, everybody. Happy New Year. This is Chatting with Jocelyn, and finally we're back between Thanksgiving, Christmas, crazy COVID, insane elections, you name it. We've just had a plethora of insanity for 6 to 8 weeks. So glad to say that I am back and bringing guests in. We are going to have all sorts of discussions. Some of them may be hard for you to hear. Some of them you may like to hear. But we're going to try and talk about all these different issues as neutrally as we can, trying to give you as much information as you can. So my guest today is Miss Doris Hohensee. I've got to get that right. It's been a couple of months, so I had it right, now I don't. And we're going to talk about what's going on in politics, what's going on in Nashua, what's going on in New Hampshire, what's going on in the United States. And so I thought I would start with something that was a bit disconcerting to me and a lot of people, that there is a large percentage of people that don't, and this is not putting anybody down, but we've lost because of
public education.
Public education, thank you. That there are 3 branches of government in every single state, all 50 states. Mm-hmm. And the federal government has 3 branches of state. It does not supersede the 3 branches of government in the states because we're sovereign. So when we talk about this, we have a governor, and that is the executive branch. That matches the president in the federal. We have a legislative branch in our states, and I'll say New Hampshire, Congress and Senate. That matches the legislative branch in Washington. We have a judicial branch in all our states, New Hampshire included, and we have a judicial branch in Washington, D.C. In that judicial branch, every single state has Supreme Court. So when we listen to all these newscasts and they say the Supreme Court, everybody assumes the Supreme Court in Washington, D.C. But every state has one. People don't understand that. They don't understand that the 3 branches of government in every state is separate. They cannot exchange power. They cannot give each other powers. Am I correct?
Right.
This is a big, big misunderstanding. And I hope that if we can give them enough examples, they can understand that this is not Democrat, this is not Republican, this is not right, this is not left. This is Constitution of the state, Constitution of the United States.
Each one has a separate jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
State issues are solved in our state. Federal issues, you appeal to a federal court. You might start at a lower federal court and work your way up, same as the state.
Correct. So let's let's start with New Hampshire, and then I'd like to go to what went on in Georgia and Pennsylvania, strictly pertaining to the 3 branches of government in each one of those states, so people can say, oh. And remember, also, every single state has its own constitution. Mm-hmm. People don't know that either. Actually, not you, many of our legislators do not know there is a constitution of the state of New Hampshire that they must follow. You cannot go right to the United States Constitution and say the United States Constitution. No. The sovereign state of New Hampshire has a New Hampshire Constitution, and it supersedes everything.
I don't know if it supersedes.
Well-
It has initial jurisdiction.
Okay, I'm correct.
And then
words,
federal
okay.
laws supersede state laws if they're constitutional.
If they're correct, okay.
Right.
So that's two ways of saying it. Which again, we're not getting two versions. We're not getting two explanations. We're being told, this is it. I said so. Shut up, put your mask on, and sit down. This is what we've been living with for 9 months. I don't know about
Longer
you,
than
but
that. 10 at least.
10 at least. I was being kind. I don't know about you, but I didn't know we lived in the CCP of New Hampshire.
Well, the health departments have taken over, number one.
So health departments do not have the right to dictate
Well, tell
or
parents
mandate
that
laws.
when all their kids are home, and 55% of Nashua parents want to be back in school in one way, shape, or form.
And
45
they are being
happy
denied?
with. Oh, they're denied. The 45% seem to rule.
So we have 45% of parents and families in Nashua who are okay
With remote,
with remote learning.
100%.
And that's okay.
That's fine.
But do not dictate to the 55%, even if it was another 45%, 45 and 45 or 40. Do not allow one group to dictate to another group constitutionally, lawfully, what all of our 100% property taxes pay for.
Can you imagine if they did that in hospitals? That 10% or 20 or 40% said, I got to stay home, and they won't go to the hospital and be an essential worker? It's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to even get into a doctor's office. They cut back to 30% of their patients. Well, I've got relatives, they're 95 years old. It was like an argument. They haven't been seen in over a year. They've got all these problems.
Right.
To get in to see the doctor.
Is impossible. And here's the thing.
You've got insurance, but you can't use
Well,
it.
that's my point.
You're paying for it.
So we've got a group of parents who want to do things remotely, and that's great if that works for you. But you cannot, the school board, counselors, selectmen, whatever you want to call them, cannot dictate to the other group who cannot do remote that they must. They also cannot dictate to the taxpayers that you're going to pay for this no matter what.
Well, what's even more galling is we're doing negotiations for raises for teachers that aren't in the building, and the parents who are frantic. Some of them are essential workers. They can't stay home and work remotely. They put their kids in the girls' club, the boys' club, the YMCA, and they have to do their remote learning there without any parental help.
Correct.
I mean, they're juggling so much.
It's very upsetting, and it still comes back to one group dictating to another, or the school board allowing the views of one to supersede the other.
Why don't they just ask which teachers are willing to go back in?
Right, and send those kids back.
And get more teachers that are willing to go in if we need be, because it's essential for them to be in the building.
Correct. And tax-wise, why are we paying taxes that, oh, by the way, property taxes that are taken up front for 6 months for not full-time school?
Right. They're not getting an adequate
They're
education.
not getting an adequate education. The grading and testing of these kids is abysmal.
Oh, I
They're
heard
failing.
high school kids, they were talking, at the gym, and they were saying, well, gee, I hope we don't go back to in class because I can't cheat anymore. I'd have to learn. So there you have it. They
There
know.
you have it.
I
Out
mean,
of the mouths of babes.
You sit there with your laptop and your phone, and you kibitz and text, and you can't take
So
a
it's
test
very interesting
securely.
because my son and a number of other kids that I know are in college, and they when they take exams or anything, they have to turn the computer around. They have to show the entire room, that there's nobody there. They have to show the desk. They're not allowed to have their phone on. It has to be turned off, and they have to prove it.
Right.
So here we have kids in college paying huge amounts of money.
Right. And they get no interaction with their colleagues, no networking, no friendships are able to build because
Nope.
they're all in their
You
little...
take your test, you're not allowed to see the test afterwards. I mean, there are millions and millions and millions of dollars being paid by taxpayers for our children to be educated. And they are not being educated, and what they're getting is pathetic, subpar.
They're not spreaders. Children are not spreaders.
Nope.
But that's all right.
But
we
that's
know
okay.
that, but
Yeah.
we just have to shut down our city halls. We have to shut down our schools to show who's the boss.
So here's the other thing. So we as taxpayers also pay for all the buildings in our capital. We pay for all the town halls.
Our libraries.
We pay, I was just going to say that, libraries, all our taxes, your taxes, and whether you rent or not, the money you pay in rent goes to your landlord who has to pay the taxes for you. So whether you know it or not, as a renter, well, I don't pay that. Yes, you do. It's in your rent. So all of us are paying huge amounts of money in taxes for all these buildings to be open, for our children and your children and their children to be educated. None of this is happening. We are paying monthly premiums, big money, for health insurance
that we can't use.
that you can't use. We are paying car insurance.
Nowhere to go.
Where are you going? Okay, so maybe once a week you're going to the grocery store if you have kids and you need to. Otherwise, the rest of us are doing once every 2 weeks, once a month. You're filling up your car once or twice a month. You're not going the places and just kind of flitting around. So my question is, kind of off topic and being squirrel. So if we're not all driving around and going to all these different places, has the carbon gone down because we're not driving?
Well, you would think. You would think.
Oh, no, wait a minute. Because remember the 20 cars that are in line at Starbucks every morning? I counted 20 cars at Starbucks waiting to get coffee. Are you insane? $8 for a coffee and a muffin, and you sat in line for 30 minutes, an hour, putting your fumes into the air. But I digress. So what are we looking at in Concord?
Well,
We've got 3 branches of government,
yeah.
and we've got a governor that's making law.
80 emergency orders. 80. And tomorrow he's going to update the mask mandate.
The
'Cause
mask mandate.
Because
Well,
it
isn't
expires.
it not a woman date? I'm sorry, we're not allowed to use that word anymore, are we?
But what gets me is in his state liquor stores,
Yeah.
the mandate says if you have an exemption, you can't demand proof because that's a violation of the ADA.
Correct, the American Disabilities Act.
But they're doing it. In Nashua, those state liquor stores are doing it. You don't get service unless you show your proof or put the mask on.
So showing proof, number one, it's against the American Disabilities Act. It's against the HIPAA. Number one, it's none of your stinking business because you're not my doctor.
And our AG, who's being nominated for our Supreme Court,
Oh.
just came out and said, if they're giving you any trouble, just call the police.
But didn't we defund them?
No, we didn't defund our
Okay.
police.
Okay.
Thank goodness.
Not in Nashua, anyway.
Their contracts, negotiate those. The firemen and the police, they're still
EMS.
they're servicing us. So I don't mind that. They're not the teachers
Pay them all day
who
long.
are sitting at home.
Fire, police, and EMS, you get the pay.
Right.
And we're not downing on teachers, but the fact is, you're not working per the contract.
No, they've got MOUs in Nashua,
What
which
are
expire
MOUs?
a memo of understanding that places the Board of Health over the school board because they get to decide and dictate how the climate is doing and how many positives we have from tests that we're not
So
certain.
which legislative body, which people in the legislation, of which none of you are official, made that law because they just reconvened. So which one of those
this
made
is
the
our
law that
local
made?
contract that gives power over to the
Yeah,
health
but who made that law to give the health department
Nobody.
to then they can't be.
And they hold virtual meetings with our school board, so parents can't storm the meetings. I mean, storm in a nice, peaceful way. If they came, like when a union comes and says, pass our contract, and they they storm the meeting, those board members listen. So if parents stormed the meeting peacefully, they might listen.
Objected.
But we're not allowed to because we have virtual meetings where they can turn you off, mute you, drop a call, you're out. Yeah.
So we've got a health department that a law has not been passed by the legislature of New Hampshire that says that they can supersede everybody else. Mm-hmm. Therefore, it's not a law. Therefore, it's not enforceable. And I don't care if there's an emergency.
But
where's the law that declared it an emergency?
Well, the legislature's back. We have the Senate. They hold virtual meetings with 24 senators.
Okay.
And the 400 House members somehow managed a drive-in with clickers in their cars. They're back. I'm not going there, but they're back. So
are they at the drive-in? They have to roll up their window and put the little thing there.
Exactly. And then if some of them weren't working, so they have to flash their lights to say my clicker's not working.
People, are you hearing this?
And then
they're meeting in a parking lot with drive-in speakers, and if it doesn't work, they're
you
flicking
have
their
your
lights.
own speaker,
your own
phone, your own laptop,
oh, Lord.
and little clickers that have to work. And if you want to speak, you text the speaker and you flash your lights. They come over with a microphone on a stick so you can speak. Or if you're not getting your vote through, you flash your lights again to tell people it's crazy.
400 people. And
yes.
I'm pretty sure they didn't all
they're
show
back.
up. But
the point is they're back, so we don't need the governor putting out 80 emergency rules.
So what we need is for that alleged emergency law to be rescinded immediately.
But they won't cross him. They think that would be
Okay,
improper.
so here's the thing. Anybody that's in the legislature and all you people that pay taxes, you need to call your legislatures, all of them. Don't be picky. And you tell them to rescind that law immediately. Because here's the thing, the legislatures make law, but we the people decide whether it's going to happen or not. They can't just willy-nilly go, well, I want all trees to be yellow. The voters have a say in this at some point.
Well, the legislature is supposed to have public hearings on every measure they
there
put
you go.
forward. And I don't know if we're going to have those. They'll probably be virtual too, thanks to the governor. He had put our governance on virtual hold.
Yeah. So when you close all the buildings, whether it's in your town or in the Capitol,
yeah,
and you lock the doors, which they have done for 10 months, and they deny the redress of grievance because the courts are closed, you can't file anything. We have no redress of grievance.
But you can't face your accuser. It's all a virtual space.
But you're not getting your cases through for 3 to 4 years.
There is a slowdown, yeah.
So there is no redress of grievance. So therefore, our government in the state of New Hampshire has come to a grinding halt. It is not functioning.
But we have a governor who knows best, and he just threw the president under the bus. He just said that we should impeach him without evidence. They don't have evidence, but they impeached him.
Be careful what you ask for.
He did, he asked.
Be very careful. So, yeah, I know a lot of people on both sides of the aisles that are disgusted with their parties.
Yes.
And people need to pay very close attention because we're speaking, and we're speaking very loudly, and we're speaking very clearly, because with the masks on, it's really hard to hear us, so don't misinterpret my words when I say loudly.
We're having a meeting for the New Hampshire Republican Party on the 23rd, where we're going to vote in a new chair and a new vice chair, potentially, or renew the same ones. That should be interesting on the 23rd.
The 23rd, where's that going to be held?
Oh, virtual. Can the public watch? I have no idea. You had to register to get the contact. So I guess it's a secret meeting.
Who's voting him in?
The state committee where you run, you get to be a delegate, and then the delegates vote for the state committee.
Was that like the electors that were leftover people? We didn't get to do that correctly this year either. I have no confidence.
The whole
the
thing is-
Republican Party and the GOP, they need to be bleached.
Well, there are alternative candidates running.
We have to
One of
vet
them's a
these
friend
people.
of yours. I think Keith Hansen, you know him.
Keith Hansen, yes.
He's running for chair. And
Good for him.
Dan Hines is running for vice chair.
Good.
Against, I guess, Tucker is our current vice chair.
Pam Tucker,
and,
yeah.
And we have a chair,
Steve Stepanek.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we'll see how that plays out.
Time to clean the closet. It's time for take out the trash.
Well,
And the same old, same
I don't
old.
wanna say
They're not
what they-
listening to us.
it's not, whether it's trash or not, they were silent when we had all these problems. They're silent when Sununu is running our state over
Mm-hmm.
our legislature. They're silent when he throws Trump under the bus. So they're
Mm-hmm. Well,
complicit.
Thank you. I was just going to say silence is complicit. And if
So-
you don't think we all don't believe that, you've got another thought coming. And you
we'll
know
see.
what? When you are begging and you are driving us nuts, demanding money, donate to this, to donate to that, you haven't done one thing. Not one thing that represents us.
Well, if they don't get the leadership they want, I think there's going to be a big purge. So I don't know.
Well, we just, it's very scary. Let's.
Can I read Schumer's
I was just going to say, would you please? So this is
March of 2020.
2020, so March of 2020.
And it was over a Supreme Court decision that he didn't like, and it really doesn't matter what the issue is. It's the language, isn't that it? The incitement to violence.
Well, isn't that what Pelosi said, that they are impeaching the president because he incited to commit insurrection, incitement, and using
I
words?
haven't heard the quote of what was bad in
Exactly.
Trump's
So,
speech.
but
this
here
is
we go.
Schumer's quote. I want to tell you, Gorsuch. I want to tell you, Kavanaugh. Those are two Supreme Court justices.
Judges. Mm-hmm.
You have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions. Hit you. I mean, this is a threat.
I thought you weren't allowed to threaten Supreme Court justices or the president or the vice president or anybody,
Well, some
actually.
people are loud and the media doesn't jump all over them.
So, in that vein, we've got Maxine Waters, and I quote, harass the staff and supporters in public and refuse to serve them. And there's actually, you can go to the video, for somehow the left has forgotten that everything's recorded. And hers goes on from there. We've got Cory Booker, quote, I dream of punching him in the face, talking about President Trump, 45. Joe Biden,
Oh, this is good.
I quote, I'd like to take him behind the barn and beat him. And there's many other quotes. That's just one of them. All the rest are,
How is that not violent? Beat him. Beat him.
Here's the other thing. So whether you like President Trump or you don't, whether you like me or you don't, it doesn't matter. We have to go. They throw around the phrase rule of law
And the process.
and the
yes.
process, and they're not following it by any way, shape, or form at all. And when you take the president of the United States, doesn't matter who it is, and you shut them down off of Twitter, you close down their Facebook page, you don't allow the media to follow anything that he says or does, that you totally silence the leader of the free world, that is denial of your First Amendment rights. And it's more than 70,000, because I am one of them. I know it's way more than 70,000. I think it's creeping up on 1 million people whose Twitter account was taken down, YouTube was taken down, silenced on Facebook. I have 4 Facebook pages because of the shows and what I do. Done. No recourse, no review, no nothing.
But
Messenger, gone.
they were supposed to have committee meetings. They were supposed to have process for the impeachment. They did it in 2 to 6 hours.
But wait a minute, didn't we just wait since June whether we're going to get $600, which, oh, by the way, Israel got 32,000 and India got like 20-something thousand per person? our taxes, and we got 600.
How did the Capitol Police have prior knowledge to this if it was spontaneous? That's what I don't
Because it
understand.
was pre-planned, and the FBI and the Capitol Police became aware of this pre-planned infiltration
And the police
that was going to happen at the same time as the rally. They went to Pelosi.
And asked for more help.
They asked for the National Guard, and they denied them.
Yes.
Not once, not twice. Oh, wait a minute, denied? Where did we hear that before? Not once, not twice.
And then the sergeant of arms at both the House and the Senate and the police chief in the Capitol just all resigned.
Yep.
What do they know?
I venture to guess they've been threatened like everybody else.
They've
but
blocked right-to-know law requests for
Right.
information. They said it'd be too embarrassing if they gave it out, the information.
This is just insanity. When CNN says that they're reporting that this was a pre-planned assault that was going to happen at the same time as a rally, then nothing the president, if you're already announcing that and reporting that, nothing that the president could say could incite insurrection when it's a pre-planned,
The rally was
foregone thing.
45 minutes away if
I
you
know.
walked. And
No
he
matter how you
didn't-
slice this
He
cake, it
didn't
doesn't.
end the speech until after 1 o'clock, and it was over by
It was over.
by 1:15.
That's what people don't understand. It was separated by 45 minutes,
Yeah.
and it was already done at the Capitol when he was finished with his rally. But they've lumped it all together. You can't get from one end to the other.
Maybe they had helicopters.
Well, I'm guessing there was no flyovers at that time.
And then on the 13th, which is yesterday, they put in this concurrent resolution. So if the impeachment isn't enough, this one woman from Georgia wants to prohibit President Trump from entering the U.S. Capitol at any time after the expiration of his term as president.
Excuse me?
He's no longer president. They don't want him anywhere in the Capitol.
You can't do that.
Oh, we just make a law for one person. Unequal treatment before the law?
So
I mean,
that's
it's not
14th Amendment. Yeah.
Where's the criminal action?
This is insane. This is insane. And just to highlight again, whether you like him or not, these are highlights. President Trump has had no wars in 4 years, the highest wages in a decade, which is 10 years, the lowest unemployment ever, especially for minorities, and 7 million jobs, more jobs than people we have to take them. The left said there would be no vaccine. There's 3. They all are jumping on him for the rollout being too slow. The rollout isn't in the hands of the governors, just like the shutdown and masks are in the hands of the governors. You need to know the facts, people. You need to decide for yourself. Thank you so much for joining me and Doris at Chit Chatting with Jocelyn, and we hope to see you again soon. Do your research. Do it without emotion. Use your brains that God gave you. Find out what the truth is and take away the hate.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.